Hey, it's me again, TJ from Ceasar Graphics. Welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to create this documentary spot poster. And what you are going to be learning today is I'm going to be teaching you guys how to color grade, and I'm also going to teach you guys how to do photo manipulation. All right, so without any further ado, let's jump into today's tutorial. Now, this project is not for any client, okay? So I decided to do this so as to help you guys become better Photoshop user. All right, so let's jump straight to Photoshop and start work on the project. All right, so let's create a new document. So I'm going to click on File, now select New. So for this project, I'm going to use the 1080 by 1350 portrait Instagram size. All right, so I'm going to call this. All right, and my resolution is going to be 100, and I'm going to click on the create button. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is to drag in my background image. So I'm going to drag that and drop here just like so, and I'm going to hit the enter key on my keyboard. Now, if you are looking for the XSS file for this project, you can find it on the description section of this video. So I'm going to click on the grid map option here, and I'm going to click here and double click on this. All right, and I'll make my color code file B1C, and I'm going to hit 00. Then I'm going to hit the OK button. Then I'm going to double click here. I'm going to make this FFAA3B, and I'll click on the OK button. Then I'm going to double click here, and I'm going to make this triple FC and 7. It should be 3F. All right, so then I'm going to hit the OK button. All right, so I'll make this 99, and this should be somewhere around let's say 68. Yeah, so this is good. Let's just move this in a little bit, just like so. So I'm gonna click on the OK button. Let's change this to overlay first. The grass is no more looking like green, so we need to bring that back. So I'm gonna select the brush tool. Okay, and I'll select the soft round brush, and I'm going to check the transfer option here because I'm using a graphics tablet. So but if you don't have a graphics tablet, you can easily reduce the strength of your opacity or your flow. So I'm going to just zoom in like so, and just gently take that out. Now make sure that your foreground is set to black, and I'm just going to gently move my brush around the grass like so. All right, so this is good. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is to create my cloud. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'll call this, and I'll click on the OK button. Then I'll click on my foreground color picker, and I'm going to make this OE21. I'm going to click on the OK button. All right, then I'm going to fill this with my foreground shortcut. So I'm going to use Alt Backspace to fill the layer. And I'm going to click on the foreground color picker again, and I'll create the second cloud color, so which is 2E 7F 9B. So I'm going to click on the OK button like so. Then I'm going to hold down Alt and click to create a new layer again, and I'll call this cloud. So I'm going to click on the OK button now. All right, so I'm going to fill it with the same shortcut again with Alt Backspace, and this should be below this, and I'm going to hide this, and I'll add the layer mask to this. All right, then I'm going to select the brush tool, increase the size of my brush. So I need to change the color of my mask to black. So to do that, I'm going to hit Ctrl I on my keyboard to do that. So what I'm going to do now is to switch my foreground to white, and I'm going to gently apply that color of my cloud back to my project like so. So I'm going to gently do that by dragging, clicking and dragging like so. Okay, so I'm going to make this visible, and I'll add a layer mask to this. So I'm going to do the same thing again by hitting Ctrl I on my keyboard to reverse the mask, and I'm just going to apply it to the upper part of my frame just like so. The next thing I'm going to do is to add some light effect here. So I'm going to create a new layer, and I'm going to call this lights, and I'm going to go to the color picker of my foreground, and I'm going to change this to E5D1 5F. So I'm going to click on the OK button. Here's the size of my brush, and I'm just going to click here and hold on shift and click here and change this to overlay. All right, now you see we're beginning to have this light effects on our project. So I'm going to just reduce this with the free transform. I'm going to move this down and hit the enter key on my keyboard. So I'm going to add some dust effect on the project. So I'm going to click on the new layer icon and I'm going to hold this dust. All right, then I'll come to my color picker again, D07D26. So I'm going to click on the OK button and I'm going to select the brush tool for this. Now, make sure you have your transfer option checked if you have the graphics tab, but if you don't, you can simply use the transfer option up here, which is this. You can, turn this down to something around, let's say 15. All right, so I'm going to just apply that dust to my project just like so. All right, so this is good. So we can even reduce the opacity of this just a little. Okay. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to create my sun effect. So first I'm going to create a group and I'll call this sun. All right, then I'm going to create a new layer and I'll call this. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my brush tool. All right, and make sure that you have your flow back to 100 just in case you've tamper with it, or your opacity. Make sure both of them are 100. And I'm just going to click where I want my sun to appear on my project. And the next thing I'm going to do is to change my blend mode to overlay, just like so. All right, so I'm just move this down to about this point. Okay, I can even make a copy of the sun effect so as to make it more stronger, and I'm going to reduce the opacity of the one I just duplicated, and I'm going to create a new layer and I'll call this lights 2, and this one should just be white. All right, so I'm just going to make this light yellow. All right, and I'm going to click on OK. So I'm going to select the brush tool now and I'm going to just click once. All right, so I can even change this to screen, and I'm going to use the free transform to scale this. This can be behind. I'm going to use my free transform to just scale this big like so. So one other cool thing about this is you can even make a duplicate of this like so, and I'll use the free transform to just make this have the sunlight effect just like so. And I'm going to add a layer mask to this. All right, because I noticed that the sun effect is too strong on this side. I need to take that out from this side of my project, and I'm going to select the brush tool, reduce the size of my brush, and I'm just going to gently apply my brush to the bottom part of the sun. So I need to switch this to black, and I'm going to just gently apply it like so. Right, so this is beautiful. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is to bring in the picture of the rock. So I'm going to drag that and drop here from my exercise file, and I'm going to position this somewhere around here, just like so. Okay, so I am going to add a curve adjustment to this, and I'm just going to push this down like so. Now I only want this to apply to only the rock, so I'm going to click on this icon to apply it to just only the rock. So I'm going to select the brush tool, and I am going to hit the Ctrl I on my keyboard to reverse the selection, and I'm going to make sure that my foreground is set to black, and I'm just going to apply, my foreground is set to white, excuse me, and I'm just going to apply the, brush to the layer mask of the curve like so. All right. So I think this is good. Now my rock is looking too flat for me. So what I'm going to do again is to add a curve adjustment, and I'm just going to push this up so as to add some light effect to some part of the rock. So what I'm going to do is to click on the same icon again, and I'm going to blend this by double clicking on the layer, and I'm going to move this from here to here, and I'm going to hold on Alt and split the slider, and I'm just going to move this in like so, and this should go in like so. All right, and I'm going to click on the OK button. So now this is the before and this is the after. Now this is affecting some part of my rock, and I don't want that, so I'm going to click on the layer mask of the rock, and I'm going to select the brush to increase the size of my brush, and I'm just going to take it out. Now we need to always remember to switch this to black, so I'm going to just take it out from some part of the rock just like so. All right, so another thing I want to do again is, I really want to make this rock effect blend with the project, so I'm going to apply a little bit of dark green on the rock so as to just make it more real. So I'm going to click on the new layer icon with Alt down, and I'm going to call this Grain Rock. Go to the color picker of my foreground, and I'm going to change this to 262805. Beautiful. Now I'm going to click on the OK button. All right, then I'm going to hold down Control and click to create a marquee of the rock, and I'll hold down Alt and apply the color of my foreground to the layer. I'm going to deselect the marquee by using the shortcut, which is Control D on my keyboard, and I'll change the blend mode of this to color. Now this is looking too strong, and I'm going to reduce the opacity to something around 46. All right, now we're beginning to get there, and I am going to blend this. So I'm going to double click again because I only want this to apply to the darker part of the rock. So I'm going to move this from here to here just like so, and I'm going to hold on Alt and click to break the slider again, and I'll move this in like so and move it this way like so. The next thing I'm going to do is to bring in the picture of Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm going to drag that and drop here like so. Then I'm going to scale this big and position it somewhere around here. Let's just put all our layers in a group so as to make our layer panel look neat. So I'm going to call this BGs. All right, and so on the layer of Cristiano Ronaldo, I'm going to, let's just give it a name. I'm going to call this CR7. All right, now so I'm going to add a curve adjustment to this and click on the apply to just only that layer icon, and I'm going to drag this down like so, and let's just move this down like so. All right, so put this down like so. Okay, so this layer here is affecting the layer of Cristiano Ronaldo. So what I'm going to do is to hold down Control, and I'll click to create a marquee of CR7, and I'm going to click on the add layer mask icon here. All right, now it's affecting the layer of CR7, but I don't want that, so I only want it to apply to the rock layer. So what I'm going to do is to hold on Control I on my keyboard to reverse the mask, and then we have it only on the rock layer. So what I'm going to do next is I need to create a shadow of CR7. So I'm going to hold on Control and click to create a marquee of Ronaldo, and I'm going to create a new layer, and I'll call this CR7 shadow. All right, so I'm going to click on the OK button. Now I'm going to switch to black here, and I'll use Alt backspace to apply the color of my foreground to the layer of the shadow. So I'm going to hit the Control D on my keyboard to take out the marquee, and I'm going to go to Filter, Blur, and select Gaussian Blur. All right, now my blur is too strong, so I'm just going to make it 1 for now, and I'll click on the OK button. Then I'll bring out the free transform, and I'll push this down with Shift hold down like so. All right, and I'll right click and choose the skew option here, and this should go to this angle just like so, because the sun is coming from this angle. All right, so the shadow needs to go the opposite side of the sun. All right, so I'm going to move this like this just like so. All right, then I need to push this up. All right, then I'll go to Filter, Blur again, and I'll select Gaussian Blur. Now this time I'm going to use something around 0.3. All right, so I'm going to click on the OK button, and this time I'm going to make a copy of the shadow. All right, then I'm going to hide this first. All right, so I'm going to add a layer mask to this, and add the layer. I'm going to select the brush tool. Now make sure that your foreground is set to black, and I'm just going to take out some part of the shadow from that layer, just like so. So I'll make this visible. All right. Then I'm going to add a layer mask to this. So I'm going to just take it out from here, like so, and I'm going to reduce the opacity of this just like so. Let's just make this some part of this visible again. All right. This one visible, just like so. All right. So on my rock, I think I still need to push this down a little bit more. All right, so as to make the attention be on Cristiano Ronaldo here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to add a light effect, right? So as to make it look like there's a light coming from here that's reflecting on Cristiano Ronaldo's face. So I am going to create a new layer. All right, so I'm going to call this lights. All right, so I'm going to zoom in. Now, we need to create a marquee of Cristiano Ronaldo. So I'm going to hold down Control and click to create a marquee of him. And I'll go to select, modify, and I'm going to hit the expand option here, and I'm going to select OK. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add a layer mask to the layer. All right, so anything we draw on the face of Cristiano Ronaldo now will only apply, will only apply to the body and not outside the body. So I'm going to hit Ctrl Z to go back. All right, so next is to sample a color from here, like so, and I'm going to zoom in, reduce the size of my brush, and I'm just going to, apply the light effect to the face, just like so. All right, so what I'm going to do again now is I'm going to hold down Alt and click to bring out the new layer option here, and I'm going to call this strong light. All right, so I'm going to change this to, I'm going to change my blend mode to color dodge and check the fill with color dodge neutral color option here, and I'm going to select the OK button, and I'm going to duplicate the layer mask of the light body to the strong light. So I'm going to hold on Alt and drag and drop to duplicate that, and I'm going to choose another shade of light here. All right, then I'm going to zoom in. So this one should only apply to just only the tip, right? Not too strong, just only the tip of the body. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is to put the layer of CR7. You need to take this one out and put them in a group. So I'm going to hit the Ctrl G on my keyboard to put them in a group, and I'll call this. This should be above the layers, like so. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a gradient map. All right, so I only want the gradient map to apply to the rock and Cristiano Ronaldo's layer. So I'm going to click on this icon. All right, and I'm going to click here, click on this, and double click on this. Then I'm going to make this 5C1C00. Click on the OK button. Going to double click on this, and I'll make this FFAA3B. All right, so then I'm going to click on the OK button. I'll click on OK here. So I'm going to change this to overlay, and I'll reduce the opacity to 24. All right, so the next thing we're going to do now is to create a cloud effect. So I'm going to hold down Alt and click to create a new layer, and I'll call this cloud. All right, and I'll select the OK button. So make sure that your foreground and your background color picker is set to black and white. And I'm going to go to filter, and I'll select render cloud. All right, and I'm going to change my blend mode to screen. So now I'm going to zoom out and just increase the size of this, just like so. And I'm going to reduce the opacity, just like so. And I'm going to zoom in. Okay, and I'll add a layer mask to this. Then I'll reverse the mask by holding Ctrl I on my keyboard. Now make sure your foreground is set to white, and I'm going to select the brush tool for this. So I'll increase the size of my brush, just like so. And I'm going to just make some part of the cloud visible on my project, just like so. It's visible here, just like so. Just make it visible here, just like so. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take this to camera raw. So to do that, we need to first stamp visible above the layer. So I'm going to hold down Ctrl Shift Alt and E to stamp visible. Then I'll go to filter and select camera raw filter here. Okay, so here we are now in camera raw, and I'm gonna move this here so you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna move up to the basic, and for the export, I'm gonna start with the temperature. I'm just gonna move the temperature down a bit. All right, and for the exposure, I'm just gonna move that down and reduce the contrast just like so. Okay, and for the highlight, which is the sun, I'm gonna move that up just like so. All right, now you see our sun effect is looking more shiny. And for my shadow, I'm gonna move that down so as to make the upper part and some darker part of the field more darker. And I'm going to move down to texture, and I'm going to just increase the texture so as to add more contrast to the pixels. So I'm going to move that down up like so. All right, and I'll go straight down to my sharpen, and I'm going to move that up like so. All right, so as to add more details to the pixels like so. And for the curve, I almost forgot to move that down, and I'm going to move this out up so as to create more contrast on the field of the project. All right, and I'll go down to my HSL, and under the saturation, I'm going to reduce the strength of my orange like so. All right, I'm going to push that down like so, and I'm going to go straight down to my grain, which is my effect here. So I'm going to push this up like so, so as to add more noise to the project like so. And for the shadow here, excuse me, I almost forgot, I'm going to add a little bit of red to the project just like so. And yeah, so for the calibration under green, I'm only going to move saturation up like so. All right, not too much, just want to make it something around +4. I'll go back to my effect again and add vignette to this. All right, so I'm going to move this way so as to make people's attention be on this side of my project. And I'm going to just click the OK button like so, and we have this. So the next thing we're going to do is to add our text. All right, so I have my text now on the screen, and you know what, I need to make this a little bit brighter. All right, so I'm going to go to my curve adjustment here, and I'm just going to move this up like so. All right, so I think this is okay for me. All right, so the font that I use here, for those of you that care to know, is the Beber's New, and this silhouette, I got it from Google. Okay, I am going to include it in the exercise file for you guys. All right, and the same font here, this is the Beber's New, and this is my name right here. So this is the final project. I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial, and if you have not subscribed, remember to hit the subscribe button and remember to ring the bell so you will be notified when I post my tutorials. I'll see you guys again in the next one. Peace.